My name is Taylor Ernest. I have with me today Clark,
Hi there.
Sally,
Hi there.
and Chris.
Hello.
My specific purpose statement is to persuade my audience of the reasons they should help the honeybee. Did you know that we are dependent on a tiny creature that weighs only 0.00025 pounds? According to Big Island Bees, a multi-generational family business of beekeepers, an entire hive, which is about 50,000 honeybees, weighs only 12 pounds. 12 pounds that greatly impacts our whole ecosystem, and 12 pounds that produces literally tons of food. Today I will inform you about the vital impact of honeybees on food production, the reasons honeybees are disappearing, and what you and I can do to help them. I have read Big Island Bees blog, the Honeybee Conservancy's website, Rachel Carson's Silent Spring, Rowan Jacobson's Fruitless Fall, Frey and LeBun's The Bee Friendly Garden, and Sanford and Bonnie's Story's Guide to Keeping Honeybees. Now that we have an idea about what today's speech is about, let me share with you the vital impact honeybees have on food production. The drive to collect nectar and pollen is the force behind bee pollination, and it is bee pollination that is the reason we have so much produce available to us today. In addition, as Rachel Carson points out in her book Silent Spring, our livestock are affected by bee pollination as well because it affects the food that they consume. Rowan Jacobson, in his book Fruitless Fall, discusses how almonds are 100% dependent on bees to produce. So every almond that you've ever eaten has been affected by a bee, has been touched by a bee. And did you know that California makes 80% of the world's supply of almonds? So if we were to lose our honeybees, we would take a devastating hit to our economy as well. As you can see, honeybees are the cornerstone of many food-producing plants. And unfortunately, it appears that this cornerstone is disappearing. Though scientists don't know the exact reasons honeybees are disappearing, I would like to discuss a few of those reasons with you today. The first is the varroa mite, whose scientific name is the Varroa destructor. According to Sanford and Bonnie, authors of Story's Guide to Keeping Honeybees, varroa mites came from Asia. Therefore, our honeybees have no natural defense. 90% of colonies infested with varroa mites will die. The treatment for varroa mites is a pesticide, which, as you know, honeybees are insects as well. So when a beekeeper applies that to the hive, it harms the honeybees as well as the varroa mite. This is kind of like a cancer treatment. Cancer is part of the human body, so when a doctor prescribes cancer treatment, it harms the healthy cells as well as the cancer cells, which is why you see the nausea, vomiting, and hair loss. In the same way, when a hive is treated with pesticides to kill the varroa mites, it harms the honeybees themselves. Sanford and Bonnie also argue that varroa mites contribute to the next condition I'd like to discuss, which is colony collapse disorder. Colony collapse disorder was first discovered in 2006, and Sanford and Bonnie list the symptoms as an abandoned hive with little to no dead bees nearby, apparently healthy larvae in the hive cells, and plentiful stores of honey and pollen ignored by other bees. This is not natural bee behavior. Bees are natural robbers. It's part of the reason they have such a protective instinct over their hive. If they find a hive with healthy sources of food, they will move right in and take over other bees' hard work. Scientists have been unable to identify a single cause for colony collapse disorder, but they have identified a few factors, including frequent movement of beehives, poor nutrition, frequent use of pesticides, and a weakened immune system. There's much research being done today about colony collapse disorder. With the odds stacked against the honeybee, it falls to us to do what we can to help, and there are several small things you and I can do. These include planting a bee-friendly garden, stopping the use of pesticides, and supporting honeybee research financially. First, I'd like to discuss raising a bee-friendly garden. Frey and LeBun, authors of The Bee-Friendly Garden, state, "It is important to recognize the potential and power of our home gardens. Each one of us can make a difference in the world by planting a bee garden." According to the Honeybee Conservancy, front lawn grass provides little to no food or habitat for honeybees, and replacing just a small portion of your lawn with flowering plants can provide pollen and nectar for honeybees. These are just a few examples of plants that you can plant to help honeybees, and they include herbs, flowers, bushes, and trees. Next, I'd like to discuss avoiding the use of pesticides. Now, honeybees are often unintended victims of pesticides because you can't pick and choose what insect is affected by the pesticide. We may apply pesticides to our flowers to save them from the aphids that are eating our petals and our leaves, but we inadvertently harm the honeybees that help our flowers reproduce. And according to Frey and LeBun, pesticides are not always lethal. They can also cause growth impairment, foraging disorientation, and weakness. Lastly, I'd like to discuss giving financially to help the honeybees. The research required to help cure things such as varroa mites and colony collapse disorder requires funding. And when we give, it helps bees and shows those in authority that we care about this issue. There are many organizations to choose from. I've listed just a few here, but a quick Google search will reveal a plethora of organizations whose purpose is to help save the honeybee. Many people don't realize the importance of honeybees, much less the difficulties being faced by honeybees today. By doing one small thing, such as planting a bee-friendly garden, avoiding pesticides, or giving financially, each one of us can help the honeybee. Today we've talked about the crucial role bees play in food production and the reason these bees are disappearing. Armed with this information, we must do what we can to help. In the same way that we depend on such small creatures for a vast amount of food, every small thing we do can help have a lasting effect.